Zoom actually was kind of cool. I did meet some people through Zoom, but I think you have to be a communicator. You can't be freaked out by the Zoom thing, and I think some people got better at it.
Right.
Initially, I was like, and now people, I just blur my screen because I don't want you to see the crap I have in my background. But
I can just
right? I know. I was like,
Welcome to Inside Copy and Art, the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. You're not going to be sorry. This episode is like none we've ever done before. I have 3 amazing guests with me today, and we're changing up the format a little bit. So even though you'll see that I have some notes here, we're going to have a really cool conversation with our guests. We're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about Westchester, our history, what makes us outstanding and what we do. And our goal here is always to add value to you. So we're going to do just that. Please join me in welcoming Mike Dardano. He is from Buzz Potential. He's a marketing executive there, really the head guy, but he calls himself a marketing executive because I guess we couldn't come up with a better name. Sorry, Mike. We are all friends, so you'll see that coming through today. Stacy Cohen from Co-Communications. She is the CEO there. And Christina Ray is from Buzz Creators. She is the president and main boss. So I am excited for today. I am hoping that we have a great time. I'm going to start with you, Stacy, because we had a fun interaction recently where I was speaking at Mercy University. Go Mercy. We love Westchester. And we're talking, I was invited to speak on brand, the importance of brand, and how college level adults should be thinking about themselves as a brand so that they can differentiate themselves in the job marketplace.
Yes.
So when I saw that that's what I was talking about, gave you a call, said, would love to give away your book. And I think that's a good way to segue.
Yeah.
Tell us about you.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for your generosity. You have such a generous spirit. So a little bit about me. I was born an entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 14.
Wow.
And I did the corporate thing for a while. I was with CBS, a major ad agency, and I have had my own business for 26 years, which is really hard to believe. Very diverse client base, real estate, professional services, education, healthcare, nonprofit, and doing a lot in economic development. And a proud author of a new book called Brand Up, the Ultimate Playbook for College and Career Success
Love
in
it.
the digital world.
Yeah, so tell us about what you were hoping to accomplish
So
there.
it's interesting. It took so many twists and turns. I actually had a full book written out to parents. I had an epiphany. My girls are in their 20s. I had an epiphany when they were in high school, very competitive high school where the GPAs were 4.2. And as a marketing professional, it's like, wow, you really need to stand out. You really got to start marketing yourself early. And then long story short, but I became a Huffington Post blogger just on personal branding. But during this time, I wondered, are there any classes that teach digital leadership and personal branding? Because all these statistics were coming out that the majority of admission officers are now looking at kids' social media.
Sure.
And then there was an incident at Harvard. Harvard has like a 3.19% acceptance rate where 10 kids created a Facebook group, racist comments, bullying, and all 10 of them, their admissions were revoked. So fast forward, I wrote an article about a class, the only class I found in all of the US that taught personal branding and digital leadership when the kids were in 9th grade, 14. And blogged about it, became close friends with the professor, creator of the curriculum, went to visit his class, blogged again about it, and then that blog post went viral, and then I knew that I had something there. Getting that early personal branding muscle built early, because it's really when you start it early. Admissions, college admissions is your first test, so to speak. But how do you get to the top of the admissions pile? First for college admissions, but then also for job recruitment. And the other thing I just want to point out is that it's really important, because my kids did go to a privileged high school. This book, I want to level the playing field for all youth. So it's not just for kids that want to go to an elite college. It's for kids that may want to go into a trade like carpentry, hairdressing, or maybe they want to start
For
a
anybody.
business.
Sure, it's important for
anyone.
anybody. Well, I think that's great, and it was very well received. So one of the things you'll see in this audience is that there's a lot of synergies in what we do day to day, which is why when people in Westchester started to hear about this, they're like, ooh, that's interesting, because a lot of marketing, a lot of maybe even some crossover in what we do. Christina, tell me a little bit about what you do at Buzz and like what you're excited about.
Sure. So I've been doing public relations for about 30 years now. Started back in high school when a teacher of mine told me I should either be a lawyer or go into PR. You know, hence the nickname Chatterbox and everything else, which has bode well for my career. But it's been just so interesting seeing everything change in PR since we started, you know, all these years ago with the advent of the internet. And like you said, leveling the playing field. Even small businesses can now, you know, go global. Whereas before they didn't have that reach that they could have. The internet has really helped to do that. So I was in the corporate world for about 15 years, have worked at large agencies, and then started Buzz Creators about 15 years ago next year. So stay tuned for the invite for all of you. And you know, it's really about storytelling. It's about having your clients tell their story, what it's all about. That's our tagline, is every business has a story. What's yours? So to your point, we all story tell, and that's a synergy between all of our businesses.
Right.
But it's, you know, how are you going to tell the story? Through what channels? Are you telling them through social media? Are you telling them through the reporters? Are you telling them through awards, a speaking engagement? There's all these different things that you can do. Everything that you do is so visual. Just walking around your office and seeing it tells your story of how you brought your business to life and your viewpoint on how you treat your team and everything else. So I think that's the big difference, is every business has a different type of story, a different vibe that they're putting out there. And, you know, that's, I think, what we all collectively do.
Yeah, what the audience might not know is, so we have lunch at a Greek place not too far from here, and we realized that like our stories, did we live like lives that were completely congruent?
Well, we just connected right away.
So yes.
It's the same with you two. It was
yeah,
like
great
the
people.
vibe. That's why I was so
people.
excited when you invited us here for this podcast. So thank you.
Oh yeah, no, you're welcome. But it was so funny. We're sharing stories about like how you got into it, because it was a little bit of maybe corporate wasn't the right fit, right? So Stacey, you said that. Tell the audience a little bit about how you decided to take that leap before we jump to Mike, and he's going to talk a little bit about what he does.
Sure. So I was working in the city at the time, and I had actually just had my second child. So commuting 2 hours a day wasn't something that I was really enjoying at that point. And I had always thought of starting my own business and my own agency. I just didn't know when I was going to kind of take that leap.
Okay.
It was 2008, so everything came crashing down. And a lot of the job opportunities that I had been looking at were all down in the city and city based. So some of it was that convenience of wanting to, you know, be home based, but I've always lived in Westchester my whole life. So it was something that I felt very comfortable putting a shingle up here and saying, hey,
Yes.
I'm here and I'm open and I would love to help tell your story. So it, you know, it all just worked out really well from a timing standpoint. But, you know, starting during that time when it was kind of the lowest of the low in 2008, you know, I think really helped during challenging times like COVID, because I had already been through that when I first started the business.
Sure. And now it's more than a shingle. I know, because I knocked on your door and randomly walked into your office one day. I'm like, hi, is Christina here?
We have a very cute office, but it's
You
nothing
too.
like your luxurious, beautiful office here.
showpiece.
This is definitely like
amazing.
next level up and then some, but it's absolutely beautiful.
Well, thank you. I just love that. I was like, I'm in the building. My accountant happens to be there. And I'm like, are you around? You're like, yeah. And that actually happened too. But
Well, just like what you had on your door, the open door policy, I have that same outlook on life. And, you know, I always welcome conversations like this. And, you know, I don't see even people that have the same type of business as mine as competitors. I always had that mentality that there's enough sand in the sandbox for everybody.
For sure.
And you know,
Absolutely.
again, we all learn from each other, you know, share insights with each other. A lot of times if I have a question, I'll ask Stacy about it. You and I have had lunch. Mike is always beyond generous with his photography skills at every event that we're at. So again, I just think that philosophy, you know, is across the board for all of us, which is great. And I think a lot of businesses can learn from that because not everybody views life that way.
Right.
You
Or
know,
business that
some
way.
people are very scared to like talk to any competitors or share information and stuff. So, you know, it has to be the right people.
Right.
But
Yeah, there has to be trust.
yeah, it has
But there
to
is
be
more than enough.
It has to be, you know, people you can trust and really feel good with.
Yeah. Mike, did you always know you'd be in marketing?
No.
Yeah.
I started off at 14 mowing lawns.
Okay.
But what was interesting, I was $10 an hour back in the 70s. That was a lot.
That is a
That
lot.
was a lot. It was, I got questions of $10 an hour. This is outrageous. I'm like, fine, dude. Someone else can mow your lawn. And they come back to me.
He learned supply and demand
Such
early.
a great job.
Yeah, I know. I
don't
was very
doubt that, yeah.
meticulous about the lawn thing, and my sister was my accountant. It was pretty funny.
This is where he honed his business skills.
Yeah.
Look at that, look at that.
Well, technically, it was after that when I went to University of Rhode Island after my first college didn't work out well.
Okay.
And I worked for the college newspaper. And that's where I learned more about marketing and advertising because we're selling print ads in 79. Also, I learned how to deal with our friends in editorial because the editor was mad because when I laid the paper out on Sundays, I would bring a quart of beer with me because that gave me creative, you know, inspiration. And he said, "You shouldn't drink here." And I said, "But you're an editor. Don't editors drink?" So.
And this is how you knew marketing was
It's
for
not
you.
new marketers like this. I'm fighting with editorial already.
So tell the audience what you do now. Like, how do you spend your time?
It's kind of weird because I got laid off after 9/11 in 2001, and I didn't know what to do because I wasn't from around here. I had worked national advertising and whatnot. So I went to the Business Council of Westchester's holiday party in December of 2001, and I met Stacy, Marsha Gordon,
Yeah.
David Haviland,
Oh,
John
yes.
Singh,
Oh,
and Petula. I don't know what her last name is now, but because she. Yeah, and that's how I started this. I met Stacy. We started talking. Eventually, I started doing some work with her, and then I started my own stuff, just doing some side consulting things. And then in 2004, it was 1 day a week, then 2 days a week, then 3 days a week, and learned all about PR because I didn't know PR. I didn't know anything about PR. And then
And he was a natural.
well, it was really fun because it was so different, but it's still selling to a degree. You know, you're selling
Sure.
ideas, right?
That's
Mhm.
exactly
That's
what
what it is. So, and learned so much then, had all kinds of clients. Then went home, hit, you know, the Great Recession. And then I said, all right, well, now it's time to like maybe do my own thing. I don't know. It sort of evolved. I made salad once for a client. I mean, I'll do whatever.
I believe it.
Houses, you know.
Here, pull your mic closer.
No, sorry.
Yeah. He couldn't wait. He couldn't wait to do that.
Couldn't wait to do that.
He couldn't wait to do it.
I just kind of evolved, and with social media coming up, I've now just done a lot of social media. But I've always felt that it's important to support the community. So
Yes.
I'm at an event. Christina goes, "Mike, you take a picture?" Hell yeah. Stacy's done that. I mean,
How
I'll
much
take-
does each? Oh no,
No, I
we
didn't
won't go
know.
there. I'm only kidding.
No,
Out of
but
the
it's-
love of his heart.
Yeah, but it's important because we have to stick together. I mean,
Sure.
I think what COVID showed is that we have to stick together because no one
Yes.
else is looking out for us.
Yeah.
So when I heard about her book, I'm like, oh my God, that's an awesome thing. So, you know, let's take some pictures. I actually found it in Barnes & Noble here in White Plains.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember that. I didn't even know that it was. I knew that it was at some of the Barnes and Noble, but I
Yeah.
didn't know that it was there.
And Christina's got great promo items, just like you guys do. That I still have the thing that sticks on my head, the little buzz.
The little
thing.
buzz.
Yeah.
Bee head,
I made
bobblehead.
that. I
Yeah.
made
They don't
that.
make them anymore.
Yeah.
He's got a collectible
I got a
item.
collector. I got
I'll
a
have to
collectible.
find one for your office with this art
Yes.
collection,
I know.
museum.
I got a
Could be one of your museum items.
But it's all about community. It's all about working together. It's all about giving back, and
Yes.
that's really my mantra.
Yes,
That's
yes.
kind of evolved from
Yes.
what I do.
And you know what's interesting? My mantra, I think all of our mantras are the same, but I love how you started off the podcast, add value, because my mantra is always add value, not clutter. There's so much clutter out there.
Yes.
And it's like, how can we all as marketers like cut through that
Right.
and, you know, and really figure out what is going to be meaningful, not only for our clients, but to their target audiences.
Right. There's a couple of things that I love to do here at Inside Copy and Art, and it's show kind of the people behind the scenes who are part of this community. And sometimes that just means Westchester. Sometimes it means business. In this case, it means marketing. And so I want to kind of take an opportunity to see what your perspectives are, and then I'll be happy to share mine on AI. What do we think, right? Because it's all the rage in terms of people having a position, either very for or very against. What do we think? It's not going anywhere. So what are your perspectives on AI and how it will or will not affect your clients and what you do?
I love AI. I think it's a great tool in the toolbox. I look at it as an intern. I look at it as a supporting tool that can, give you some fresh ideas, thoughts and so forth. But I think you also have to be wary of it. I think you have to be careful. I think you have to be careful what you're putting in there, not putting in company names, any identifying information.
Security.
For security reasons. And, once you put it in there, it's out there and that's it. So, we'll use it as an intern to kind of like help with some ideas and things like that. But, at the end of the day, we're all writers and we know how it needs to be. So there's a ton of editing that, needs to be done, and you have to have the thought process.
And the
you
fact
have to
checking.
review everything. The
Oh.
fact checking.
Because it's still
That's very
highly
important.
inaccurate.
Yes. It's still very early for this, even though it's not as early as some might believe.
Right. But it is definitely here to stay. And, within our team, we've done trainings like just on best practices with AI and
policies.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really important because I actually tried myself. I'm like, I'm going to try to write a news release, and I just like made it up and give a quote to this person. But I have to tell you, it was like really close to picture perfect. But it's all about inputs because it's like junk in, junk
out.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So you have to be very thoughtful about your inputs. But I think it's here to stay, and it's going to evolve in different ways that we can't even imagine. And I think for the most part, it can streamline our work, which, the big chatter is like, this will cut down on our labor intensive work so we can spend more time on creativity and strategy. Sometimes I find it to be a little bit more time consuming, depending, because again, it's still an art. And I think it's just going to get better, and it's going to be integrated into our lives. And what's really interesting is that, and I know this is a little aside, but in education, the schools don't know what to do with it. And I don't know, you have kids in high school, but they don't know. They're either integrating it into the curriculum, or they are banning it, or they're just like watching it. So it's interesting to see. But because I work with teens a lot now, and I tell them all, go into engineering or AI, because I just think that this is going to be such a
big thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like how the advent of the internet was.
Yes.
I mean, one of my first jobs was at Prodigy, and it was actually right down the street from here. But I remember when I first started there, fresh out of college, people were like, oh, there's this thing called the World Wide Web, and you're going to shop on it, and you're going to do this and do that. And it was interesting seeing in advertising how people started including, their URLs and websites and their ads little by little of how it got picked up. And now you can't even imagine that. But it's like anything. People used to not be able to comprehend using an ATM machine. You're going to put my money in a machine? No, I want to go talk to the teller. So all of these things, get picked up, and there's always going to be the early adapters that embrace it and love it, the people in the middle that are kind of like, and then the people that are going to and dip their toe in very slowly.
Right.
So it'll be interesting.
It's so AI, I don't care about AI. It's fine. It's going to happen, right? So something I can do
already
about it. I'm
happening.
not going to stop. It's outrageous. So what I do when there's a new technology, I tend to play with it on my own, right? So this is pretty cool. Instagram now has AI stuff in it for stories. Yes. So so I pulled my head out and said, Armageddon, and there's my head amongst Armageddon. I did one
Of
for
course you
Hillary.
did,
I
Mike.
did one for Hillary Millman.
Of course you
and she
did.
loved it.
Are we surprised?
Yeah.
We're not surprised.
No.
You might be surprised. We're not surprised.
No, and some other, and it's cool. But the what I really love is I have this photo app and I was telling a couple people about it prior. It smooths everybody out. So if the photo's a little bit, on your phone,
Grainy,
it's not
a
like
little
that,
whatever.
Like John Vecchiola's photos are always really
Yes.
good. Well, on the
So
phone.
it'll give it a better
It
resolution.
smooths it out. Doesn't always
Really?
work because
Okay.
sometimes your eyes get super puffy. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not what I want. But it's really cool and it helps. So photos now for someone with a cell phone and they don't have a light, you're just using natural light, it can really be cool. So those are, and as far as the Chat GPT, I agree. Good stuff in, fairly good stuff out.
Yes.
Crap in. If you can't ask good questions regularly, you're not going to get good stuff
That's
from
right.
Chat GPT.
That's right.
So,
Yes.
and I don't think it's a threat to PR writing. I think it's, like you said, absolutely great.
Yeah, it's another tool in the toolbox
Exactly.
is the way that I see it. What about you?
So we actually started Copy and Art AI. So we have a full-blown division here that's dedicated to harnessing the power of it.
Love it.
But
That's
you know,
cool.
we
That
we
is
say
really
that
cool.
intentionally, right? It's harnessing the power of it because first, it's still not where it needs to be. However, there are clients in our at our company that really just based on like the segment they're in, they need content, a lot of it, in order to stay competitive, right? So this posting once a day, posting once a week, a blog, that's not going to cut it because their market is so competitive that they really need to be doing multiple times a day from an omni-channel perspective.
Yes.
So
Yes.
where AI can really support is on volume, right? Because
Yes. Yes.
it's harder for a writer to sit there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's interesting because there's probably, and you would know better than myself, but there's probably a way that after there's some base of knowledge that you can also figure out, through the algorithms, what posts are getting more engagement.
100%.
And then duplicate, not duplicate
Right.
those exact
Yep.
posts, but
Right. And some of the tech is smarter, than some of the more generic tech. And it can learn your tone, learn your language, learn kind of some of the keywords for the client. So, I think there's innovation there to be harnessed. I always say we're not going to be a dinosaur, right? We're not going to be a Blockbuster Video. Like you see things coming,
Yes.
right?
Have to stay on
you
top
have
of
to
them.
stay on top of
Yes.
it.
And embrace it. Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know what? That's such a great point because, like, as marketers, I've always said, we all know this thing, if you keep doing the same thing, you'll get the same result. I say if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to be stuck in reverse because the new competitive advantage is about innovation and change.
Yep.
And so as marketers, we always have, there's that agility. We have to market in the moment.
Right. Absolutely.
The newspaper industry, which I started in, it's just like the railroads forgot they were in transportation. Newspapers forgot they were in the information business. They were stuck to that print product.
Yes.
Right.
And even magazines, if you look at Westchester Magazine now, it's not a magazine company anymore.
No,
It's an
a
event
media.
marketer. It's like a 360 marketing
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah,
So
Right.
you've got to invent different marketing
Exactly.
revenue streams.
exactly.
And this goes back to your comment before about even college students and everything and what they need. They're coming up in this whole world, so they're living and breathing it all. But, figuring out how to like utilize that with all the different generations.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
again, sometimes
Yes.
people
So
get
true.
intimidated with it, and it's like, how do you figure out how to work that into a place that multi-generations are going to feel comfortable with it?
Agreed. One of the things I think everybody at this table is really good at is this concept we're going to dive into next, which is brand consistency. It's something we kind of fight for here, but I think it's really important for any audience that's kind of watching us or listening on an audio version is really what we post to our clients is so important as brand consistency is what we live. So like these younger college going into the workforce, the version of you that appears on Instagram needs to be consistent in some way, shape, or form with the version of you that's on LinkedIn, which represents kind of your cover letter and your book of work. So talk to me a little bit about, right? So like if you check out Mike Dardano, his style is very different. It's very in your face, but if you meet him, it's very consistent.
Yes.
You're not like, I can't
I
believe.
think he's a good one to start with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Amy Partridge once called me the anti-marketer, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. Amy, here's a statement. Amy was the editor at 914 Inc. You know what it is? I think you have to be authentic of who you are.
Yeah.
And you can't be someone else. So I'm me, but Stacy's Stacy.
Right.
And Christina's Christina. And that's good. And you want to have that consistency. Unfortunately, sometimes clients and tend to be smaller, but sometimes big companies, they're all over the place. They're all over the place, and it's frightening. And you try to rein them in. And now with social media, if you've got 20 people doing social media, they're all over the place. So I find that the kids out of college right now, they know how to use the technology, but the branding thing and the consistent message,
Right.
You can
It's an
have
area
it,
to learn.
yeah, different versions of it to a degree, but you gotta be consistent. You have to,
So true.
your why,
Yeah.
what's your
Yeah.
why? And we know
That's-
what you do,
yes.
but why do you
Yes.
do it? That kind of stuff. And I kind of learned a lot of that working, with Stacy, with the different kinds of clients that she had.
Sure.
But what Caldwell Banker did was this way, or the Boys and Girls Club was that way, and you'd see it, and it's like, oh, it's a different perspective, because ads are kind of ads. You can control ads, but PR, you can't control it necessarily.
It's a little
all
more
the time,
fluid,
right? So
sure.
you want to make sure that when you're training them on media, that they're saying the right stuff, because it could get misconstrued, and then you're off brand, and then you become Bud Light or something like that. which,
And everybody has their own voice and tonality. And I love the word that you used, authentic, because I
Yes,
always say the
yes.
same thing to people is like, if I have a client and they're one type of person, I'm not going to try to change who they are and try to make them a social media guru or
Right.
put them on a podcast.
Right.
Like, this comes natural to you because this is who you are.
Yes.
Right.
Some people
Right.
are not meant to be on
Right,
TikTok.
Right, exactly.
Some people,
Right,
some people embrace that, and for
Right.
other people,
Yeah.
it's
Good
just
point,
too
yeah.
awkward, and they're
Right.
not meant to be on
you've
it.
got to play to your talents.
Exactly.
You've got to play to your talents. And it's interesting because just in terms of consistency, you really need to be very strategic. Because again, I feel that there's a lot of like just throwing spaghetti against the wall, but you've got to be strategic and have an overarching content strategy and really drill it down to this multi-channel environment. And
Sure.
it's complicated. But then you've also got to make sure that whoever's handling the various kinds of talent, like there are some brands that have someone handling TikTok versus Instagram versus LinkedIn,
Right.
that nobody is working in silos.
Well, it's funny. One of the things that I'll tell clients all the time, I'll say, listen, if you wanted to model some of the best and kind of the brands with the biggest pockets around the world, they give their book of business to usually either one network or one agency. And there's a reason for that. Not because they can't afford 20, but because there needs to be consistency and one team.
Too fractured.
Yes, but likewise, one of the things that we like to tell people is we can do your creative, right? We can do your new website, your social media, make it look beautiful, all that fun stuff. We need that overarching strategy.
Yes.
We need to do that workshop so that we get in the same room, on the same page with diverse voices, and we really figure out what we're trying to do. So talk to me a little bit about, because that's super interesting to me, to the extent that you serve your clients in their thought process without just going straight into the do. Like, what are a couple of things, maybe tips, tools, tricks you don't mind sharing with the audience in terms of making sure, right? Because we're coming into 24 now, and this is a new year. It's a very unique environment we're in. What advice would you give to our viewers and listeners?
Are you looking at me?
Yeah, I'm
Wait a minute, do the look.
looking
Do the headlight look.
I mean, everything that we do for our clients is so customized because I think one of you brought it up before about everything is different. So, when somebody comes to us, the first thing that we look at is, okay, well, who are you? What's your philosophy? What's your vision? What are you looking at? Who are you trying to reach?
Sure.
Who's the audience that you're looking to reach? What are your goals? And then we build that whole customized program around that because, a lot of times people will be like, well, what's your fee or what's this or what's that? And everything is so customized. There's not like something on a shelf that we just pull off and say, this is for you.
Right.
Because again, every business is so different.
and it's
who
X
they're-
dollars, right?
and who they're looking to reach is so different. And the avenues that we're going to use to reach those people vary upon where the people that they're looking to reach work, live, and play and where they're spending their time. And that's quite different if you're looking to reach college students than if you're looking to, help people that are like boomers.
Yes.
It's completely different.
Yes,
So that's the most important thing is before anybody starts jumping into things, as Stacy said, and throwing the spaghetti against the wall, really spending that time on the strategy of thinking about like, who are you looking to reach and what are you trying to do and what is your messaging to them? That's the other thing that's important is
Yes.
the messaging.
Yeah.
And you know that
Yes.
from all, the videos and stuff that you're doing and so forth. It's like, say we're doing something with a broadcast media outlet. You have that one sound bite to tell your story in. So you really have to be super clear on what your messaging is and what you're looking to put out there.
Absolutely.
Well said. And you know what? I almost look at it as in 3 buckets. And I always tell, like, when I'm pitching a new client, like, as you look for a communications partner, you need 3 buckets. One is strategic. You need that 16,000 view. And we do a similar process as you do the discovery process,
Yes.
where we're digging deep and then coming up with timeline of deliverables. But the creative bucket is the second and equally as important, because it's our job to help our clients stand out from the clutter, and we all know that there's so much of that. And then the third bucket is the implementation, and you've got to implement with precision, because you can have a great idea, but unless it's executed with precision, it's going to fail.
One of the things I learned through working with Stacy was I get my hands dirty. I go visit. When we were working with Seaboard and I had my adult diaper on, climbing up these ladders and
bell.
oh my God, the
Bell
bell
tower,
and all
yes, I remember that.
I'm heights are not my forte, and going up there and had to be macho. Oh, I'm not afraid. And I learned a lot from that. So going forward I tend to have smaller clients. I'll go on A.G. Williams' painting thing. I'll be behind the scenes at Corporate Audio Visual.
Right.
I'll go to the excavation site and watch them dig dirt, and that's important for me because I have to understand where they're coming from. So they tend to be smaller, so they want that. They want to know that you're going to.
I think all clients want that, Mike.
Yeah.
All
they
clients.
Yeah.
Pfizer wants
It's
that.
kind of hard. I'm not going to.
We have to be at Pfizer. Absolutely.
100%. The other thing is, and I don't know if any of you, I'm so into strategic partnerships and sometimes putting clients together.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a perfect example. We worked on the 18-month campaign for rebuilding the Tappan Zee Bridge, which is now the Mario Cuomo Bridge. So we have a nonprofit client, Hillside Food Outreach, and this month, November, is Hunger Awareness Month, and the color for that is orange. So
Oh, it was just the.
right,
Yeah.
So we got the proclamation from the county, but to me that wasn't enough. I was like, maybe we could light the bridge up in orange,
Yeah,
so we went through the transit authority and lit the bridge up in orange.
It was
But then-
beautiful.
But then we have a client, Orange Bank, and I said maybe they would underwrite the, because we did a bridge viewing party. And I said maybe they'll underwrite that. So of course Orange Bank was in it to help sponsor, and it was just such
I love
a
that,
great
the connecting the
night.
dots
Right,
and
connecting
everything.
different,
man.
because that's when you get amplification.
Yes.
True.
Yes.
And I also love doing that on the nonprofit side too. Like we were all talking about giving back. And I think that that's a really important thing to stress to our
Yes.
clients as well, especially when they're doing really well, helping everyone else too. So I always look at same way that you were talking about connecting the dots of, when we start working with them, we ask them like, what's near and dear to your heart? Because a lot of them will say, oh, I always have people asking me like how I can help or donate to this and that. So we always help them figure out like who's a good strategic nonprofit partner for them to partner up with and really build that relationship too. So whether it's something that's near and dear to their heart personally, if they've been affected by some kind of illness or something in their family, or if it's something that aligns well with their business goals and strategy, partnering that up. So
That makes
again,
sense.
I
Love
think
that.
all the
Yes, so
partnerships,
important.
and that's the beauty of all of us having the connections
Right.
is that being able to
Right.
partner people and really make that impact
And
together.
it's like building bridges, right?
And sometimes
Literally.
Yeah.
sometimes it's
Or
weird.
lighting them up.
Sometimes the potential client or the client's like, well, I don't really want to tell people about my nonprofit, charity stuff. It's like, that is a marketing channel. And once you convince them it's not being braggadocious,
No.
and you're actually helping the charity.
100%.
So if I'm XYZ company and I've been shy about promoting what I do for that charity, when you start promoting it, they're going to see increased dollars.
Right.
Because you are now helping them market that charity. And sometimes, and I still see it a little bit, but when when I first started doing this, I saw more of it. Like 10 or 15 years ago, I saw more hesitancy, but now I think people seem
I'm
to
doing it for the right reason. I don't want to taint it.
Right, exactly.
But you inspire other people to do it.
Right.
It's important for every brand. I don't care how big or small to be community minded, because it's also, people want to do business with humans, and they want to see humans that care and they care for their community and, different nonprofits.
And that goes back to the authenticity.
Yes.
You can tell very quickly if somebody's doing something just for trying to get some good
yeah.
promotion out of it.
Oh yeah.
Hey
now.
Versus
And
versus if they're
that's
doing it out of the goodness of their
such
heart.
a turn off. And
Yes.
I love what you said about the authenticity. And the word that I also like these days is vulnerability. I love when someone could be vulnerable, because none of us are perfect, and all of us, go through stuff in our lives or our businesses, and we all fail.
Sure.
Yep.
Well, and I think it's a great connector, right? And I think
Yes.
people are seeing that more and more, that everybody knows that everybody is flawed. And so the more that you can kind of show people that that's okay, I think the more that they feel that they can connect with you. So I think it's also strategic, right?
Yes.
It's like you want to connect with people. I think one of the things I like about the people at the table here is that we all have those connections and those relationships, which quite frankly are due to the fact that we have been out and about. So talk to me a little bit about your feelings on the current shift and dynamic with people not wanting to walk into offices anymore.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
I mean, I have a mixed point of view on that. Again, having worked in the city, when I first started working in the city, I put into my contract with them that I was going to work from home on Fridays, just because the commute would burn me out.
Sure.
And so that was built into it.
Yeah.
And other people started
That's
seeing
different.
that, and they were like,
That's
how are
fine.
you working from home on Fridays? So I started doing that even before COVID made it like a trend. And same thing for my office. We would have work from home Fridays. Now we're hybrid, so we're in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But people like that because they want both. They want the convenience of not having to commute, especially if they have a long commute. But a lot of people, especially in our field, still want that connection and camaraderie.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a fun office like this. Who doesn't want to come in and hang out and
I would have come
and
a
see
year
people?
from now.
We might be ringing her,
Yeah.
knocking on her door more often.
It's 4:20. Can I come over?
That's what we want.
But I think at the end of the day, social media is great, email is great, texting is great. But at the end of the day, I still am a firm believer that human connection really solidifies those relationships. I mean, we've had clients that we've never met before and have just been on Zoom, but it's still, whenever I can, I want to meet people face to face. You and I sitting down at lunch, you and I go out all the time, you and I see each other all the time. That's what makes those connections for the people at the table and beyond, is having that, face to face, looking people in the eye, having that trust. And, it takes it to that next level that all the technology just doesn't do.
Yes.
And I hope that the
Yes.
younger generation understands that and picks up on it, because I've even seen myself, a lot of the younger generation is terrified to even pick up the phone or look somebody in the eye. They're so used to texting their way through life, and that's not how the real world is when they come into it.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And bonding, like, support connection walk.
Mhm.
That is a bonding experience where we bring people together, whether they're friends or clients, and that you can't beat that. So
Right.
when COVID hit, it was like, unless it's like, I'm going. I'm
Right.
going to go to whatever I'm allowed to go to, because I wasn't going to. But I would have to say, Zoom actually was kind of cool. I did meet some people through Zoom, but I think you have to be a communicator. You can't be freaked out by the Zoom thing. And I think some people got better at it.
Right.
Initially, they were like, and now people, I just blur my screen because I don't want you to see the crap I have in my background. But right? I know. It's like the cat.
That would be really fun to
Right?
see. What does Mike have behind him?
Right,
on the Zoom call?
exactly.
I'll pay to see it.
Yeah, we
I'll
could
pay
do a
to see it.
podcast on that, but I agree. The in-person thing, it was tough. It was tough to lose that.
Yeah.
And now, but I understand hybrid working, absolutely, because commuting's a bummer, man. And I understand that if you have a good team and you hire well and you trust them,
Yes.
you can. I know, like Jamie Dimon doesn't like that, but that's a bank that's different. I think for us
Yes.
that we have that flexibility.
Yeah, and I'm 100% fine with remote working. I have, during COVID, we had an office space pretty close in size to this, and the lease was up, and I I downsized to a fraction of the space. And I have to tell you, we actually make it that Wednesday is the day, like come on in and we'll order pizza, but everybody has been as productive as ever, maybe even more so. And so I have no intention. I believe, like, if I were to say to everyone, okay, effective January 1, you must come in 4 days a week, I would have people walking out the door. And
Yeah,
I
well,
have
that's
such great
a
talent.
challenge.
I don't,
Sure. Right. And I don't think our industry has done that. So that's the other challenge,
Yes.
right? So you're definitely going to be one of the first doing that, because our industry hasn't,
Right.
which I completely understand. What I don't understand is how we could have gone through all of this time so quickly. So I'm really hoping that you guys will come back and spend some time with me on a part 2.
Absolutely.
I hope you had fun.
It was
Awesome.
so much
Very
fun.
fun.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Great.
absolutely.
And your office, seriously, we should submit it for an award.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean,
Oh,
There
yeah.
we
Design
go.
I mean,
Art
Sherry's
Digest,
she submits
baby.
all the awards.
Amazing.
Yes. Yes, we like awards. So why don't you take a second and think about what you want to leave our audience with for today, if you have anything, or if not, you can just wave to the camera and say bye-bye.
I just want to say collaboration, cooperation, authenticity. Those are critical. We all do that. And I think it's important that you do that, not only in your life, but in your business. And one other thing, accountability. Suck it up if you make a mistake and learn from it. I think that's
Right.
important.
Yes.
Great advice.
Like to.
Your cleanup, Stacey.
Are you looking at me?
I'm just laughing at Stacey. No, I just think that, people should not be afraid to put themselves out there and communicate. I think it's really important. I think that communication is one of the most important things in the world today. I think that a lot of the world's problems come from miscommunication, when people don't communicate.
Sure.
And they don't, properly say how they're feeling, or explain something, why they have a point of view on something. And again, I want everyone to be able to talk to each other, and to really, I think that would solve so many of the world's problems if people just opened up, talked about, why they're feeling a certain way about things. And I think that, for businesses, it's really important to get your story out there, to tell your story, and to just be a good citizen. Do the right thing.
To be
Yes.
Do the right thing.
I should have let you end with it, because being a good citizen, I can't come up with anything like that. But I think, in this insanely cluttered world, I have to repeat again, add value, not clutter. And that requires, when I started in this business, I used to say, wow, I remember when I was at CBS, you need eyes in the back and the front of your head. Now you need like sensors every part of your body.
Spider eyes.
And
Yeah.
so to me, it's all about like crystallizing the message, making sure that the messages that you put out there are going to be relevant and meaningful to your audience.
Agreed. I think what I would end on is, first, thanks to the three of you for joining me today. I would say, one of my favorite things to look for in employees is coachability, because I think that it's one of the highest traits an adult can have, is
Love that.
not feeling like they know it all. And I learned so much from all of you. So thank you. And I would say to our audience, make sure that you're tapping people with similar but maybe diverse skill sets within your field. And don't be threatened.
Right,
There's so much
right.
business out
Yes.
there, and
Absolutely.
we're all that much more valuable based on the network that you have being your net worth. So I want to say thank you for joining us on Inside Copy and Art, the podcast. Join us again next week. We're going to have another marketing roundtable. Thank you all again for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.